Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and Ryan's is RHOLM22. We have a guest, and you can see him at mholder 95, right? On Twitter, on Bleacher Report, and on Tape Don't Lie with Marcus Johnson. How you doing today, Matt Holder? What's going on?
Doing pretty well, guys. Thanks for having me on. How are you guys doing?
Good. So
I'm good.
We're doing better than somebody we know. But so I just want to say, so you're building a team. This is your second go around as a head coach. You're also the play caller. You got the big sheet in front of you and everything like that. The foundation of everything you want to get done is through the big uglies up front and the offensive line. Like what is these missteps at the offensive line? Like that's really like that's where it all starts with Josh McDaniels, right? Because he really wants to run the football and he can't, and he can't run it at the clip he wants to do, especially early in the season. And also the communication with trying to block Khalil Mack was embarrassing. What were your thoughts about the O-line, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, this past week was pretty bad. And I mean, the last couple haven't been great. Jermaine Illuminor has been kind of the biggest culprit of the bunch going up against TJ Watt and Khalil Mack and pass protection. But I think for the most part, they've been still pretty solid across the board there. Colton Miller's still doing his thing, and the other guys are holding up. The biggest problem is obviously Illuminor and pass protection against those elite guys that we were just talking about. And then they're just not getting any push in the running game. And I don't think Josh McDaniels is really helping. To start the season out, Marcus pointed it out on Tape Don't Lie in the beginning, where basically every time he wanted to run the ball, he would bring in Jacob Johnson and Thayer Munford at tight end. So, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that, hey, they bring in the sixth offensive lineman and the fullback. I wonder what they're going to do. And on top of it, I don't think their offensive line is, great at moving people off the ball. I think they can stay in front of guys, but then when you play a team like the Bills, who have a penetrating defensive line, who really like to get after it, that's when you end up running for negative yards with the reigning rushing champ. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'd like to see how this game goes. Hopefully Jermaine Illuminor can turn it around. He was good and was good and productive in pass protection last year. Just had a couple of bad week stretch, but at the same time, he's got to be on a quick hook. I think Thayer Munford is probably going to be standing on his sidelines with his chin strap buckled right next to Carmen Brasillo. So just in case something happens, because Rashawn Gary's no joke either this week. So it'll be interesting to see.
Let me get one more question before I turn over to Ryan. You mentioned in the last episode that at this point you just want to just throw Luke Masterson in. Like, I mean, it doesn't. It's just like these guys are missing. I can't kill Patrick Graham when you force a check down, and then he's literally right next to the running back, and they get 7 yards on a check down every single time. It was really crazy. And then Spillane, you get a interception, then Spillane does that on the little block there. Thoughts about Diablo and Spillane? They have not been special here.
I mean, to add to what you were saying about it too, like it's not Patrick Graham's fault that when he dials up a pressure and Diablo has a easy sack on Justin Herbert and falls for the old pump fake and does the 180, like that, all that kind of stuff. And they're struggling to bring guys down. So I've kind of talked about it for a while. I've actually liked what Patrick Graham is doing, especially to help simulate the pressure. Those first 2 weeks, no one else was really winning outside of Max Crosby. So I've liked what I've seen from him. But yeah, like you said, like the linebackers, they're just missing way too many tackles. Like the amount of positive plays they make, it gets negated or not even or it ends up being a net negative with how many negative and missed tackles they end up making. And it's just getting to a point, like I said on the podcast, where like, I just want to almost see something else. I've been encouraged with what I saw in Divine Diablo in week 1. Then he kind of comes around in the last 3 weeks and doesn't play nearly to that standard again. So it's at a point where I'm just kind of like, can we try something else? I'd like to see, like I said, I'd like to see Masterson get in there. I don't know if Masterson has missed a tackle yet. Granted, he hasn't played much. So it's getting to a point for me where even in the early stages of the season, it's like you got to just try something else. Throw someone out there, put Bernie out there if you have to, So that's just kind of where I'm at. Again, just way too many missed tackles, too many missed opportunities, and they're not making enough plays to make up for it at this point. So that's kind of my biggest frustration with watching those guys play right now.
Yeah, I would add put Bernie out there. Bernie's got to be active. Like
that's also true.
Mayuga off the practice squad above him.
Yeah,
to get him out there. I did notice that Munford. I watch way too much film, but Munford did get a series, I think, in the second quarter and didn't really do much along the offensive line. So that right side, as you said, Van Roten, as much as they talked him up in the preseason, hasn't really done much. He's been okay in pass protection, but there is no push coming on that right side. When you have James, Van Roten, and Illuminor trying to run the football, like you're not going to get any push against stout defensive lines. And you mentioned Rashawn Gary's coming down. Kenny Clark's coming to town too. Who's a really disruptive interior guy. This offensive line is going to have their hands full. But I know that you do a lot of defensive stuff. Obviously, with tape don't lie. Like there's some standout players on this defense. There's some guys that have turned their game up this year. Who are a couple of guys that have surprised you so far through 4 weeks?
I think one guy's got to be Malcolm Kuntz. I mean, I think I did a breakdown of him the other week. He in the beginning of the season was flashing, and I thought deserved more playing time. I think he's continued to play well, made a few plays against the run, which is not something we've seen from him in the past. He actually got Rashawn Slater a couple times as a pass rusher too, which was really impressive because that's some damn good competition that he was beating. And, I think he's consistently gotten pressure, hasn't quite gotten the sack yet. I don't even know if he has one yet on the year, but he's one of the guys that has really stood out to me. Trevon Merrick has had an excellent season, had probably his best game this last week. Got that PBU and the pick, and made a couple nice plays against the run too. So those are probably the two that have really stood out the most. Marcus Epps, I thought he had a good game against what was it? It was the Steelers or a couple weeks ago? Buffalo, that's right. Yeah. Buffalo. And I've been pretty impressed from what I've seen from him. John Jenkins the last couple of weeks has kind of stepped up. I think he's had a rough start to the season, and then last couple of weeks been that run stuffer we were hoping for, gotten some pressure, batted a pass too. So anything he can give you in the passing game is a bonus. So those guys I definitely think have elevated their game a little bit and been more encouraging. Tyree Wilson's getting better every week too. I know it's not where fans want it to be with him being a top 10 pick, but he's getting there. He's getting there in the progress, and you can see his development, his growth over the last few weeks.
Yeah, Jenkins the last 2 weeks has been really good on the inside, and I think it speaks volumes for this front office and how they built the defensive line that you bring in a 34-year-old journeyman, and he's easily your best interior guy after they've spent 4 or 5 draft picks in there. They signed Bilal Nichols. Bilal Nichols got passed up. Even with Tillery out, he didn't get as many snaps as Jenkins or Butler. Butler was okay this week. I thought he made a couple plays, but just not enough inside in that middle of that defense, those linebackers. Yeah, I was going to say, I'd like to see Patrick Graham get a little bit more exotic in his blitzes. I mean, he's getting those linebackers one-on-one against running backs, but they're just really not getting to the quarterback. They're getting stood up by running backs one-on-one in the hole. But the Raiders are going to have to create negative plays, I think, especially this week. They can't just drop back and play cover 4, cover 3, give up 2 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards. Like at some point for Malcolm Kuntz is winning. The problem is they're in 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4. It's not 3rd and 12. So Graham, I thought the defense is getting a little bit better, but I would like to see some different pressure packages rather than we're just going to bring a 5th linebacker.
Yeah, I think he's done that in the passing game. Like if you look, like he's been moving Max Crosby around a little bit and kind of giving more of those like double A gap and exotic looks. I think part of the problem is they don't have a ton of talent in the secondary to really like be able to blitz and leave those guys on an island. Like Jacorian Bennett's made some plays this year, but he's also had a lot of negatives, kind of been up and down. And Marcus Peters, just watching him, like I was hopeful he would be able to get back to it, but he's not quite his old self. Can't quite move like he used to. So that's, I think, part of the catch-22 with it all is, I'd love to see them run a little bit of cover 0 every now and again, roll the dice a little bit, but I just don't know if that you can trust their secondary is the biggest problem. But I'm with you on, I can try something else because obviously what they've been doing hasn't been working, and love to see some more negative plays.
I did actually catch a snap where they actually tried to double team Keenan Allen. That might be the first time I've seen Patrick Graham in 2 years. Try to take away. the number one guy for the other team. So it looks like they had a plan this week, which I haven't really seen. But the defense has done about what you can expect for the talent level they have. I would think,
Exactly.
other than a
Yeah.
couple you'd like to see more turnovers, but they're not giving up 30 and 40 points a week like they have in the past.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 1,000% agree with that. I mean, I think if you look at it, they were what, like second least or like bottom 5 at least in defensive spending this year. And I mean, I know they had Tyree Wilson, but second round they go with Michael Mayer, which again, good pick, but you're not exactly giving them a whole lot to work with. And as far as talent on the defensive side of the ball, whereas offense, they're what, top 5, I think, in spending, and can't score more than 20 points. So I'm with you on that one, where as far as if you look at that, just that alone, the defense is over exceeding expectations. Like, the defense is honestly keeping them in games, because again, offense can't even score 3 touchdowns right now, which is the bigger problem to me. And you look at the Chargers game, I know they gave up 24, but what, 2 of them, 2 touchdowns were off turnovers, and they shut them out in the second half to give them a chance to come back. So I've been actually pleasantly surprised with what the defense is given the amount of talent that they have back there.
As far as speaking about the offense, they removed Waller from the situation. People are just waiting to see something from the tight end room. When you're watching it, are they open? Are the opportunities there? And then we just kind of just force feeding it to which Adams is great. So I understand Adams is great. And Jacoby Myers is probably better than I thought he was, seeing him every day now. But there's opportunities there to get something in the middle of the field. And, is that true? Or, I mean, why are Hooper and Michael Mayer so absent from this offense?
Well, I mean, I think I can't really speak to this last game, and didn't see it as much this past week, but I know in like the past, in the last few weeks, Mayer has been open. He's just not been getting the ball. He's been getting open over the middle of the field. Either Jimmy's just been turning him down, which has kind of been the issue with Garoppolo early in the season, is he's just so quick to get through everything and kind of has that happy feet in the pocket that he's not really targeting the middle of the field like we've seen him do in the past. And I think, Mayer, like I said, Mayer is, getting open. He has opportunities to get the ball. The ball's just not coming his way. That's the biggest part for me right now. I know it's frustrating not to see him to produce, and and it would be easy to blame him, but it's hard for me to put that on him when we're seeing on tape, he's, separating and exposing the defense in zones, and he's just not getting the ball thrown his way. I think that's the bigger issue to me right now.
7-14, the McDaniels record here. What is in this roster construction in year 2? What are their couple? Give me like 2 or 3 of their biggest missteps here, because it seems like they're still kind of depending on a bunch of Gruden guys in a lot of ways. Like, they really, I mean, the top of the roster is, with the exception of Devontae Adams, is all, I mean, are guys that John Gruden and Mike Mayock added to the Raiders.
Biggest missteps, I think the first one would probably be Chandler Jones, which I know it's last few weeks it's turned very dark and almost sad to say, but obviously didn't get much from him last year. End up having to release him this year. I think that one was a huge misstep. I mean, he's one of the few guys that they are spending money on defense, and obviously he isn't out there on the field. Right now, I'd probably say signing Jimmy Garoppolo. Not to say that Derek Carr needed to be kept, but not being more aggressive and either getting a bigger prize free agent in the offseason, or being more aggressive and getting a guy like maybe a CJ Stroud, who right now is playing out of his mind and playing pretty well. So I think those would probably be the 2 biggest ones. The other one would probably be, I'd have to throw up there, of the whole Josh Jacobs situation, declining the 5th-year option, and then how all that drama has played out this past year. Jacobs didn't quite get off to the start that he had wanted to begin this year, and part of that was because they didn't give him. They gave him a prove it contract, and then said prove it again. And he has rightfully said, "I'll go ahead and sit out of training camp then, if that's how it's going to be." So I think that's probably it too. And I think too, they haven't really, feel like they haven't really addressed needs like you would think they do. Like, how long have we said the Raiders need a better offensive line? And granted, they played better than they did last year, but now we're kind of seeing the effects of, okay, they really don't have that much talent. Or how often have we said the Raiders need to go after a corner? That's one of their biggest issues right now, is they don't have a great cover guy. They're starting a 4th-round rookie out there, partially out of necessity. So while I can give them credit for not overspending on some guys, like a guy like maybe JC Jackson, I don't remember. I think he was a free agent when McDaniels was brought on board. I can give him credit for that, for not wasting away that money. But at the same time, like at some point, you got to prioritize your needs and got to start getting some capital in that position. Linebacker, I put that in the same category too. So
stop defensive tackle. Keep going.
Defensive tackle. I mean, when do you want me to stop? Just tell me when.
You can stop at kicker and punter.
There we go. But they did change the long snapper too. That's another one. Yeah.
Ryan?
Yeah, I was just going to say, hats off to people like you that watch film every week. It's not easy, especially when the team's not playing well and trying to find bright spots. And then it's just a cesspool when you put the information out on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and just the daggers coming left and right. And people like, you put out a positive play by Tyree Wilson, I get 20 responses about how much he's not playing well. And it's like, yeah, I watched the film. I realized that.
Yeah.
But, just try to find the good with the bad, but you can't put all the bad stuff out there either.
Yeah, I've learned pretty quickly to post the clip and then use the mute conversation function very quickly on my thing. I think that's my first step is post it. Second step is to go right there and just go ahead and ignore that bad boy for the rest of the day.
I haven't done that yet. Maybe I should do that. Find the mute button.
Yeah, we have one person who does. I won't get into it. It's crazy. All right,
pages and pages
of notes back to us about the videos that we put out.
I think I know what you're talking about.
All right, Raider Nation. I want to thank Matt Holder, Bleacher Report, and Tape Don't Lie for coming on the show, man. I appreciate the time, man. Yeah, I know you're busy. Take care.
No problem, Max. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Thanks, man.